Two women. One spent 24 years as a nurse in intensive care and operating theatres. The other, an accredited mental health social worker supporting people through trauma. Like us, many of you have lived inside the systems and have your own lived and living experiences. We're not telling you our names just yet, but we will tell you why we're here. There's a wound for frontliners that workplaces won't name, and it's not just burnout, it's moral injury. What happens when the system forces you to choose between your conscience and your calling? We've lived it. Our differences are what creates unity, and the conversations that heal happen between peers. That is what Between Peers is all about.
All right, so this is another post on nursing.
Oh, Reddit nursing?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, so it's international, probably American.
Okay.
So I just...
You're laughing,
I know. Okay, so this one caught my eye, and I don't know that I should be laughing, but here I am, having a wee chuckle. So the name of the post is "Doctors Expect Me to Be a Nail Technician." So, my patient has the cat eye nail polish and needs an MRI. MRI refuses to have her in the machine because it can rip off her nails. Doctors ordered, I don't know that I'm going to say this right, acetic, acetic acid to soak her nails. Day shift nurses bought acetone from home to help soak off as well. The shit is not coming off. Needs a nail Dremel for sure. Why does this fall on nursing? ? I don't have the tools to be doing this. Meanwhile, I'm not even allowed to clip patients' nails. We don't have clippers in the hospital! ! The doctor asked me if her nails were off yet, like ... I can just hear this in my head.
Oh my God, yeah.
I straight up told him, that's not my job in my job description to also be a nail technician and potentially ripping / causing damage to her nail bed. Update. My unit clerk bought a Dremel from home and did the patient's nails, and she got the MRI done. I have amazing co-workers who truly go above and beyond for our patients. I still truly believe the hospital should have its own policies and resources for this type of situation in the future. So I want to know, what weird thing have you been asked to do that's well outside of your scope of practice, or what should be required of a nurse?
How much do you want? Because I will cause you trauma.
Or, like trigger warning, inappropriate for what we're doing.
Okay, so the one that first comes to mind, I was working in theatres as a nurse.
Yeah.
One of the intake questions is body piercings and jewellery.
Yeah.
She had a clitoral piercing, and because the surgery was in that area, it needed to be removed.
Yeah.
And the doctor tried to tell me I had to remove it.
What?
Absolutely. Seriously. The doctor tried to tell me it was my duty to remove it, and it's against our code of practice and duty of care. Okay? So as a result, I had to make the doctor remove it, but had to sit there and explain to the doctor how to remove it. Do you know how funny it is, looking back in hindsight, and all the nurses will chime in on this one, how many times we actually have to teach the doctors how to do their job. Now, is it normal for a doctor to know about body piercings? No, potentially not. I wouldn't think that. But it's such common practice that these young doctors that are coming out, we're not talking student doctors, we're actually talking about residents, which is the next stage up. It's the new grad, right?
Yeah.
The residents turn around. They are taught at the beginning, treat the nurses well because they can fuck your life up. And the reason they can fuck your life up is exactly this, because it's not our scope of practice, it's not our duty of care, and we walk away from the scenario because it's against everything.
But
we can. Actually, we can.
Wouldn't there be repercussions from walking away?
What repercussions can there be?
I don't know. I feel like
it's beyond our scope of practice. It's beyond our duty of care.
It depends on who your manager is. Depends on if someone's going to have a vendetta against you for doing that, right? Like...
Oh, well, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
All right, you're about to open up another can of worms.
Yeah.
But in nursing, it is beyond our scope of practice and beyond our... And the reason I say all this is because I had another incident regarding body piercing that I got blamed for in the workplace that I was not actually involved in, but the patient remembered me and blamed it on me.
Because patients are so reliable.
And as a result, I had to, on performance management, do extra work on code of practice and code of conduct. And as a result, I am one of those people, make it make sense. You're telling me, you're 100% telling me this. So I'm doing exactly what you tell me to do. And then I show management exactly how their rules and their regulation do not make sense.
Right.
I'm unfortunately that person. I highlight the deficits in the system.
Yeah.
So again, body piercing jewelry. So that's why I knew they had no leg to stay on. But doctors, residents are taught from the beginning, be nice to nurses, because they're the ones who know what we want as the consultant. They're the ones who know what our best practice we want, and they will tell you how to do your job.
I cannot remember if I was a student. I don't think I was. I think it was like my first job and I was like weeks into it.
Yeah, okay.
And a client had attempted suicide and sent me a suicide note, and it somehow managed to bypass a system and get sent through from our system to my private number.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, I got pulled over the coals, but I did call emergency services. I was in the middle of watching Wicked. I saw it in the break. I was really lucky. Called emergency services. They went, whatever, right? And my social work supervisor was away on leave, which she very rarely did, but she just happened to be away on leave. And so the CEO of the organisation was doing my debriefing, and they decided in their infinite wisdom that it was appropriate and they had sorted it with the client, that I was to go get the client's house keys from the mental health unit, go to their apartment, go through their private possessions, and get overnight bag for them in the mental health unit.
Really?
Yeah. Get their underwear, get their bra, get their clothing, pack an overnight bag for them. That was something that I was asked to do. And because I was such a new graduate, I mean, I was baby social worker, wet behind the ears.
So we're talking sub-year, even sub 6 months.
Oh, weeks. I was
Okay.
weeks, right? Weeks. Not only that, but their dog, because they were a single woman, an older woman, so their dog was left there. And then I was expected to pick up their dog and find someone to look after their dog.
Oh my God.
Keep their dog alive.
Because that would be another whole mental health issue for this client as well.
I mean, their dog was keeping them alive, right? I mean,
I know, but if something happened to their dog whilst they were obviously seeking medical assistance,
yeah.
that would cause more medical trauma and therefore then perpetuate the self-harm.
How much risk did that put me in? Going into their private residence with their key, going through their private things. They could have said that I stole anything. I mean,
I know.
do you know what I mean? Like, and on top of that, I got pulled over the coals because God knows how, who knows how, I should say, rather, that message, but I mean, I don't know, the universe did it. They sent it on a timed thing that they thought that they would have already passed away. It went through to my work email, and for some reason, Google and my work email had synced up, and I got a notification on my private phone that I'd received an email at work. And I happened to see it pop up. I just happened to see it pop up, and it said, goodbye, which triggered me to then go, that's so weird. How did I get a message from that person on my private phone? Like, how did that come through? I clicked on it, opened it up, and it was their suicide note. And I managed to get the ambulance there in time to save their life, but I was told off. Like, why the hell did that? If that hadn't have happened, that person would be dead. And I still got told off.
Oh, do you know how many times that's happened to me? Where you do the right thing.
I don't even know how it happened.
No. You just happen to be the right fate, universe, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to...
Because nurses have a lot of that, their spidey senses, like intuitive expenses, and they just happen to catch a situation and they are genuinely the ones who prevent a really bad situation occurring, and they get their ass kicked to the curb and handed to them with discipline action, right? that is unnecessarily and unjust. What they really, really need is self-care and support and understanding from management, because they've done the right thing. And I'm positive that our community as it builds will find this video and discover and jump in and have dialogue and conversation around exactly this topic about how many times they've done the right thing and got punished for it.
Well, that's it. What if that had have happened? Because I don't know how that happened, right? I don't know how Google and all of that synced up. I'm so techno challenged. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that happened. Someone explained it to me once, maybe twice, because I ask all the time. And please, if you know how, don't tell me how, right? It was just something that happened. But if I hadn't have responded to that, I had a duty of care. I had no choice but to respond to that. Once I saw that, and I even had a spidey sense that someone was going to make a suicide attempt, I had to open it.
That's right.
So it's like, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Because if I hadn't, I could have ended up in coroner's court and potentially in jail.
That's right. And this goes back to...
or lost my licence.
And this goes back to the same story over and over and over again. And this is not just nursing and social worker. It has to be other areas. Because when I was looking on some Reddit posts, right,
like teachers, I imagine, as well.
But even police officers. There was even on Facebook the other day, a particular police officer was having things happen to her in the workplace in New South Wales. Right?
Yeah, I read that. You sent it through.
Yeah, and that in itself was like, oh my goodness gracious. And it's the ones who are on the front line, who are doing the right job, who are doing everything, and they're the ones who seem to, I don't even know how you would word it, who have the attention put on them or the spotlight put on them unnecessarily and actually causing trauma to the frontline worker, right? Literal trauma to the frontline worker, PTSD, or anxiety or whatever diagnosis in play, depending on how long, the usual mental health
we
crap.
can't diagnose, right?
No, we don't. But you know that more and more experiences lend itself of the rewiring of the brain. That at the end of the day, it is so detrimental that we ourselves, as the front line, are perpetually pulled up, and that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Well, I know, and I used to find it, one of the first things I found so surprising was that in my early career, my clients would tell me over and over and over again with surprise, like genuine surprise, that I actually cared about them. Like they'd never experienced that before. And I couldn't understand, like, what do you mean? What do you mean that others don't care about?
I'm going to ask you a question that's bizarre because it's just landed. Again, spidey senses, okay? And look, I could be shooting my shot the wrong way, okay? Like I could be Johnny Dots that don't exist, okay? I'm just wondering, right? I'm literally wondering if you identify a little bit neurodivergent, like awareness around that, around potential neurodivergency, right? God bless dogs barking.
And I wonder if it was because I was a shiny new social worker and I wasn't jaded by the system. I mean, I still think I genuinely care about my clients, and it's a yardstick I use to measure my burnout and carer fatigue. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. Look, my personal opinion, my personal perspective is I have heightened empathy. I just seem to sense things in people, and therefore then, as my spidey senses pick up more, I then could be perceived as caring too much. And some patients absolutely appreciate it, and others concurrently don't.
I suppose there's the other part of that as well, that in my profession, I get to spend more time with patients, clients, consumers. Like a normal session for me would be an hour, whereas you might be seeing 6, 10, who knows? Do you know what I mean? Like how many people in an hour, and only getting to, and
it's minutes.
Yeah.
Pockets of minutes at a time.
And, I get, if I'm, in a mental health role or a case management role or things like that, I'm trying to purposefully build rapport with a client and really understand where they're coming from, and potentially it's a different framework.
The thing is, we are lectured and we are educated and lectured everything about communication and rapport. It's actually part of our training. And I mean hardcore, because some of the conversations we've had have been anything and everything from loss of life through to even concepts and topics around sensitive topics of organ donation and other things. So we're involved, actively involved, frontline, like police officers, like ambulance officers. So we're trying to micro in minutes, grab deep rapport quickly, because their safety is okay. So what I'm possibly trying to be articulate about is safety is your job, my job. It's safety, right? But we've got seconds potentiality where you might, if you're blessed and it's an hour session compared to the weird the experience you had before with the email, you have an hour, if not a tiny bit longer. We don't. We have seconds to respond, minutes. And so we have to hone in the communication and the rapport and articulate and pinpoint with correct capacity very quickly. But conversely, whilst trying to get the answer and retrieve an answer quickly, it can be perceived from the client's perspective as harsh, depending on the client and where the client's, how they perceive in their trauma response, how they perceive things. And unfortunately, we're still in an industry where the client's always right. And because the client's always right, you could be doing everything right and you could not change a single thing, and they can't tell you to change a single thing, but you have then been put under performance management plan review because they have to be seen to do something because there was a complaint made, but it was the client who did it, the client who created it, but it's against you. So you're in a situation.
I've seen the opposite of that though.
Have you? Yes. Please tell me.
Sorry,
give us hope, because...
But again, I don't know that you're going to want this story. Where, I mean, I've seen it time and time again where within the mental health field, the patient, the client is crazy, so nothing that they say is believed. So they can undergo horrific treatment, but it's not believed because they've experienced psychosis. Or, do you know what I mean? Like,
I've not seen that yet, but I mean, our audience as it builds would be able to express different. And might be able to give us other examples. But I've unfortunately not been blessed with that. I've only been blessed with the experience of when I've asked questions, but because they were in a trauma response, you know, for example, say miscarrying, you know, if they're in that vulnerable state of vulnerability, I wasn't even asking the questions. I was the second witness for the checklist, for the surgery, for the loss that was occurring as they were losing. But because I said to the patient, I'm going to have to check with the anaesthetist if that tongue piercing is going to be okay or not. Just give me a few minutes and I'll get back to you on that. I was reported by the patient. Yet in our training and in our nursing, we are told and educated very vigilantly around it's an airway issue. Their life is on the line because it's an airway issue, and we do not have the capacity to make the decision for the anaesthetist if it's with or within what the anaesthetist wants.
I want to circle back if we've got time.
Go for it. We've got a few minutes, You
were saying, and I think this is an issue for both of our professions and a whole lot of other frontliners, around caring too much. So it's that fine line balance of we've got to care, but it needs to be boundaries, or else we can take that care home with us.
Oh yeah, how many times have I taken stuff home? Absolutely. And I don't know now, because obviously I'm not a new grad, but I don't know if there's enough education and support around healthy boundaries around that topic. And maybe it's something we should be looking at, as in helping people with different ideas and skills on how to help themselves.
I think there have been so many times, and I've gotten better over the years, but then is it because I've become jaded I don't think I'm jaded, but, you know, my sparkliness is gone, that I'll come home, I've done a piece of work with someone, and I sit on my couch and I go, I've done all of the things right, but I don't know if they're going to be alive on Monday.
And that plays in your head, doesn't it? And you go on that infinite loop.
Yep, and you know you've done everything right, but it's up to them. And again, it's outside of your hands. Do you know what I mean? You pass it on to the next clinician, or you pass it on to the next, you know, person down the line because your shift's ended, or you know that they've got really hard stuff going on, or I've come home, I've made a plan with a client that, you know, has to keep them alive because I've been extremely suicidal, and then a government decision or policy has been made that then impacts the thing that client was having hope on, and it no longer is there anymore, and that was the thing that was keeping them alive. And you're like, I don't know if they're going to be, you know what I mean? Like,
and this again goes to why we've named down our podcast what we have. And if you think about it, the podcast is called Between Peers, and it's the cost of caring and having all conversations around what it costs to your body and your nervous system and your mental capacity of caring and being a frontline worker. And because we are literally being the frontline workers, we're also the ones thrown under the bus first. And unfortunately, that's the way the system currently exists. And we want to create a community where we're not talking about just sitting here and whinging and just bitching about X, Y, and Z. We also, despite venting and having a safe space to vent, we're also looking for ideas and community and how we can then create and be the policy makers and create the new change, the new version of how the systems should be run moving forward, because obviously the current system doesn't work. Is there anything else you might have to add?
I guess we've been talking about some triggering topics today, and I just want
maybe we need to link down below.
I just want to remind everyone that if you found something triggering, you can always reach out to Lifeline 13 11 14 to have someone to talk to. I mean, that's our minimum duty of care is to remind people of that. But also be mindful, you know, like when you're in the comments, like, let's not, you know, trauma dump too much. Be supportive of each other, because what we all do is really hard.
And let's not minimise what you go through to your nervous system is different to what goes through my nervous system, and that's we need to stop comparing in one regard.
Yes, because we're all different. We've all been through different stuff in our past, and we're all going through different stuff
personally at the same time.
Got different spoon levels,
and then we've got whatever's happening in our workplace as well.
Yeah, we should probably talk about spoon theory maybe in the next one, but let's leave that for now.
And on that note, down below we're going to have some links. Again, do you want to say the number again?
Yeah, Lifeline 13 11 14.
And on that note, peace and hugs to you, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.